It's the story of the Infield Horror, a mysterious and monstrous creature that terrorized a small town in Illinois in 1973. The story begins on a dark and stormy night, April 25, 1973, to be exact. A man named Henry McDaniel was at home with his wife and children when he heard a scratching sound at his front door. He thought it might be a stray animal, so he grabbed his gun and opened the door. But what he saw was not an animal. It was something he had never seen before. It was a creature that had 3 legs, 2 arms, pink eyes, and gray skin. It was about 4.5 feet tall, and it had a face that looked like a mix of a monkey and a dog. It was staring at him with a menacing glare, and it made a hissing sound that sounded like a wildcat. Henry was shocked and scared, and he did what any sane person would do. He shot at it. He hit it once, but it didn't seem to affect it. It just hissed louder and jumped away. It jumped over 50 feet in one leap and landed on a nearby railroad track. Henry watched as it ran away into the night, and he wondered what the hell he had just seen. He called the police, and they came to investigate. They found some footprints on the ground that looked like dog prints, but with 6 toes. They also found some scratches on the door that looked like they were made by claws. They didn't believe Henry's story, and they thought he was either drunk or crazy. They told him to go back to bed and forget about it. But Henry was not the only one who saw the creature. There were other witnesses who had similar encounters. One of them was a boy named Greg Garrett, who lived near Henry. He was playing in his backyard when he felt something grab his leg. He looked down and saw the same creature that Henry had described. It stepped on his feet and tore his shoes. It also hissed at him and then jumped away. Greg ran inside and told his parents what happened. They also called the police, but they got the same response as Henry. The police didn't take them seriously, and they dismissed their claims. But the story didn't end there. The creature kept coming back, and it kept attacking people and animals. It killed a dog, a cat, and a rabbit. It chased a couple of hunters who shot at it, but missed. It also made some strange noises that sounded like a baby crying or a woman screaming. It seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. It was elusive and unpredictable. It was the Infield Horror, and it was the talk of the town. The town of Infield was in a state of panic and curiosity. People wanted to know what it was, where it came from, and how to stop it. Some people thought it was a wild ape or an escaped kangaroo. Some people thought it was a mutant or an alien. Some people thought it was a hoax or a prank. Some people thought it was a demon or a curse. No one knew for sure, and no one had any proof. The only thing they had were stories and rumors. The story attracted a lot of attention and a lot of visitors. Reporters, researchers, and thrill seekers came to Infield, hoping to catch a glimpse of the creature. Some of them claimed to have seen it, or heard it, or even shot at it, but none of them could capture it or prove it. The story of the Axe Murder House is a story of a horrific and unsolved crime that took place in Villisca, Iowa, in 1912. It is also a story of a haunted and mysterious house that attracts visitors and investigators who want to explore its secrets and mysteries. The story begins on the night of June 9, 1912, when the Moore family and 2 guests, the Stillinger sisters, returned to their home after attending a church program. They went to bed, unaware that someone was hiding in their attic, waiting for them to fall asleep. Sometime between midnight and 5 a.m., the intruder came down from the attic, armed with an axe that belonged to the father, Josiah Moore. He then proceeded to kill everyone in the house, one by striking them in the head with the axe. He also covered the windows and mirrors with cloths and placed a piece of bacon in the kitchen. He left no clues behind, except for some cigarette butts in the attic and some footprints outside. The next morning, a neighbor noticed that the house was unusually quiet and called Josiah's brother, Ross, to check on them. Ross entered the house and discovered the gruesome scene. He called the police, who arrived shortly after. The news of the murder spread quickly, and soon the town was in a state of shock and panic. The police conducted a lengthy investigation and questioned several suspects, but none of them could be conclusively linked to the crime. The case remains unsolved to this day, and the identity. It's the story of a deadly exorcism in North London, where a young man was killed by his own relatives, who believed that he was possessed by demons. The story takes place in 2016 in Infield, a suburb of North London. The main character of the story is Kennedy Ife, a 26-year-old law graduate and IT consultant who lived with his parents and 4 brothers. Kennedy was a smart and successful young man. He was also a devout Christian and a member of the Jesus Sanctuary Ministries, a Pentecostal church that his family attended. Kennedy seemed to have everything going for him, until one day he started to act very strangely. It was on August 19, 2016, when Kennedy began to show signs of mental distress. He became aggressive, violent, and paranoid. He bit his father, Kenneth, and threatened to cut off his own penis. He also claimed that he had a snake inside him and that he was the devil. His family, who were also very religious, did not think that he was suffering from a mental illness. They thought that he was under a spiritual attack and that he was possessed by evil spirits. They decided to cure him by performing an exorcism, a ritual that is supposed to cast out demons from a person. They took Kennedy to his bedroom and tied him up with cable ties, rope, and handcuffs. They then prayed over him for 3 days, without giving him any food, water, or medication. They also covered the windows and mirrors with cloths and placed a piece of bacon in the kitchen. They believed that these actions would help to weaken the demons and to protect themselves from their influence. They ignored Kennedy's cries for help and his pleas for mercy. They thought that it was not him speaking, but the demons. They thought that they were doing the right thing and that they were saving his soul. But they were not saving him. They were killing him. On August 22nd, Kennedy died of a cardiac arrest caused by multiple organ failure and dehydration. His body was covered with bruises and bloodstains, and his eyes were wide open. He had suffered a prolonged and painful death at the hands of his own family. The police were called by one of Kennedy's brothers, Harry, who said that Kennedy had been complaining of dehydration. The police arrived at the house and found Kennedy's body in the bedroom. They also found evidence of the restraint and the exorcism, such as the cable ties, the rope, the handcuffs, the cloths, and the bacon. They arrested Kennedy's parents, Kenneth and Josephine, and his brothers, Roy, Harry, Colin, Samuel, and Daniel. They charged them with manslaughter, false imprisonment, and causing or allowing the death of a vulnerable adult. They accused them of acting with gross negligence and cruelty, and of causing Kennedy's death by subjecting him to a barbaric and unlawful ordeal. The trial began in January 2019 and lasted for 2 months. The prosecution presented the medical and forensic evidence and the testimonies of the police and the experts. They argued that the family had acted with disregard and indifference for Kennedy's life, and that they had failed to seek any professional help for him. They also argued that the family had been influenced by their extreme religious beliefs, and that they had been brainwashed by their church. They said that the family had no excuse and no justification for what they did to Kennedy. The defense presented the family's statements and the testimonies of their friends and relatives. They argued that the family had acted with love and care for Kennedy, and that they had believed that he was suffering from a spiritual attack, not a mental illness. They also argued that the family had tried to release him, but that he had resisted and fought back. They said that the family had not intended to harm him, and that they had been shocked and devastated by his death. They said that the family were not criminals, but victims of a tragic and unfortunate situation. The jury deliberated for 21 hours and returned with a verdict of not guilty on all counts. They said that they could not be sure that the family had caused Kennedy's death, or that they had acted unlawfully. The story of the death of Alisa Lam is a story of a mysterious and tragic case that occurred in 2013 at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. It is also a story of a viral and controversial video that showed her behaving strangely in a hotel elevator before she disappeared. The story begins on January 26, 2013, when Alisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, checked into the Cecil Hotel as part of her solo trip across the U.S. She was assigned a shared room on the 5th floor, but later moved to a private room after her roommates complained about her odd behavior. She kept in touch with her family and friends through phone calls and social media posts, where she shared her thoughts and experiences. She was also known for her blog and Tumblr accounts, where she wrote about her personal struggles with mental health issues such as depression and bipolar disorder. On January 31, 2013, Alisa was last seen alive by a hotel employee who delivered some books to her room. She was supposed to check out that day, but she never did. Her parents, who had not heard from her, reported her missing to the Los Angeles Police Department. The police searched the hotel, but could not find any trace of her. They also interviewed the hotel staff and guests, but could not get any useful information. They then released a security camera footage of Alisa, taken on the day of her disappearance, hoping that someone would recognize her or provide some clues. The footage, which was recorded in one of the hotel elevators, showed Alisa acting very strangely. She entered the elevator and pressed several buttons, but the doors did not close. She then peeked outside the elevator, as if looking for someone or something. She then stepped out of the elevator and moved her arms and hands in an erratic manner, as if gesturing to someone unseen. She then returned to the elevator and pressed more buttons, but the doors still did not close. She then exited the elevator again and walked away, leaving the elevator doors open. The footage ended with the elevator doors finally closing. The footage went viral on the internet and sparked a lot of interest and speculation. Many people found the footage to be creepy, disturbing, and inexplicable. Some people suggested that Alisa was under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or that she was having a psychotic episode. Some people also suggested that Alisa was being followed or harassed by someone, or that she was involved in some kind of conspiracy or crime. Some people even suggested that Alisa was possessed by a supernatural force, or that she was playing a game of elevator ritual, an urban legend that supposedly allows one to access another dimension. The mystery of Alisa's disappearance deepened on February 19, 2013, when her body was discovered in a water tank on the hotel's roof. Her body was found by a hotel maintenance worker who was investigating complaints of low water pressure and strange taste and color of the water. The police had to cut open the tank to retrieve her body, which was naked and decomposing. Her clothes and personal belongings were found floating in the tank. The police also found no signs of trauma or foul play on her body, and no evidence of anyone else accessing the roof or the tank. The autopsy performed on Alisa's body was inconclusive in determining the cause and manner of her death. The toxicology report showed that she had no alcohol or illegal drugs in her system, but she had taken some prescription medication for her bipolar disorder. The coroner's office eventually ruled her death as an accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder being a significant contributing factor. However, many questions remained unanswered, such as how and why Alisa ended up in the water tank, how she was able to access the locked and alarmed roof, and what was the meaning of her bizarre behavior in the elevator. I hope you enjoyed them and learned something from them. I also hope that you are not too scared and that you can sleep well tonight. But if you are feeling brave and want to hear more stories like these, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. And if you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions about these stories or any other stories that you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and interact with you.